Hello, my name is Dita Danosa. I'm coming from Latvia. Please raise the hand who knows where Latvia is located. Oh, cool, good. Sanya invited me to show to share with you my own experience. I call it 10 years in Latvian fashion. Why I become so important person in the Latvian fashion. The shortest answer: I worked much and too much. But some things, or a lot of things, are quite similar with you, with your market and fashion designers. I even will try to be more strict about what you should do as a fashion designers. And please, first lesson learned from our 10 years in the Latvian fashion: don't try to be the business person. You are not business persons. You are not good enough on that. That's why we business persons, we are educated, we are trained to be. Your role is in the fashion system, because that's why I like a lot the title of the conference. Fashion has system. Every one of us has the exact role. As in the theater, when we are going to the theater, even we are choosing between the theaters, then we are choosing the right play for us. And there's these actors, the theater players on the stage, and there are a lot of backstage teams supporting them. So business persons, accountants, financial guys, sales personnel, management, all that stuff can be outsourced. Of course, not on the beginning. You fashion designers, you must be aware of the principles, how the system works, how the company must be established, what kind of people or duties or functions must be done. And then you must search for right person to whom you need to collaborate. These can be your classmates, roommates, friends, or even the relatives, but the person who is the professional in that field. Because fashion industry is very, complicated, even more complicated as design industry, which I represent as Latvian Design Center head. We started something very similar with you. Slovenian guys, everything started 10 years back. Of course, we had fashion designers. There were, it was quite several, was quite good international success, but the majority of them, they made piece by piece collection. They showcased these collections or pieces in their studios, ateliers, but nothing much happened. So what we had, something similar what we experience maybe today, but more in a kind of aggressive way. We had discussion with the title, Sustainable Latvian Fashion. More than 200 people gathered together. So and we pointed out the weaknesses, why we don't have designers, fashion industry in Latvia. And everything started. It started was the first project after a few months. We made, I think, several similar things, but wider, bigger in the scope and size. In the most prestigious fashion center, Stockholm, which is even the best in Nordic Baltic countries, well known. We made Latvian Design Months. We started with the 18 fashion designers and home design companies, and then we enlarged the size year per year. We did it for 3 years. In a row. And what happened? And it helped a lot. Designers, the companies, design companies, those who were, playing as all roles as an orchestra, being financial people and others, they understood that to be represented in that shopping center in Design Months, there were rules. To make collection minimum from 10, 15 looks pieces and in different size scales. So they needed to start produce it somewhere, not to sew it next door. And the process started. The collections were made and they reached the audience. That was the very good lesson for designers, for design brands, because they saw results of sales. Because typically what I experienced through these 10 years, not so much then back to that time, not so much fashion designers knew to whom they designed these pieces. They just designed because they liked. But they didn't think so much about that. They didn't answer to the question, and they didn't know the answer to the question to whom I'm designing these pieces. So that was very good lesson, and the commercialization of the collection started. Even in last year, 2011, we made competition to those who can be presented in that store. And because of that, because these collections were made, and in November, design months ended, and the sales were really good and boosting, there was no place to locate these collections. Next stage started, retail system started to develop. The stores started to popping up. First store, you see, it was opened by me. We call it Latvian Concept Store Taste Latvia because we still represent only Latvian fashion and design brands. To promote, the main idea was to continue what we started, and because I personally invested too much time to organize these 3 years, these design months, and I felt and I saw that it will end with the leftovers of collections sold in these local markets somewhere from the hand. I said no. And that was the end of the crisis, and there was the 3 places in stores. So we opened in a very prestigious, the oldest shopping mall in Latvia from the 30s. We all opened in a very good place because there was free place in that moment store, and of course everything went on a good mood because it was after the design months, it was Christmas time, and sales were good. So the pop-up concept, which I opened for 1 month, stayed in the same way you see for 8 years. I closed it 1 year back because, it didn't look good as you see in the photos. So a retail system started to pop up. 2 more chains of Latvian fashion stores opened and started to work. So coming back to the system, we had competitive brands on that moment, designers, design companies, maybe not brands, but design companies, fashion design companies. We already had that retail system. So, and what we see, everything started to work. New fashion designers, brands were popping up, but before that we didn't have the kids fashion segment. It started to grow fastly because that was something we saw demand on the market, even in Latvia and abroad. But for the further development, we understood that it's very vitally important to make very aggressive, impressive promotion because, of course, we had sales of Latvian fashion locally. We had a few good stories, international ones, but we needed to boost awareness, knowledge of Latvian fashion, and continue to break the stereotype because that's always has that designer's fashion is weak quality or opposite, it's too expensive. I can't afford it. So, and we understood to promote, to make the visible promotion, to make it loud in the market, we lack fashion weeks or kind of platform where to do it because on that moment we had and still have Riga Fashion Week, which is quite closed organization which chooses several brands that those who are now developed and well known to showcase them. So we understood that we must have something, and Designers United in the Latvian Fashion Chamber, which I'm leading till now. And they said we must have the alternative platform to showcase the latest collections because in that one I mentioned there was no way to even participate. And we started with our own, and we called it not so like a fashion week. We started with a Latvian fashion festival, Fashion Mood, and it made huge buzz and competition in Latvian with that previous one, Riga Fashion Week, and that was good. And we always said that we are open platform. Every fashion brand who has collection can participate because we have 3 three levels: startups or emerging brands, well-known brands, and kid fashion brands. And typically we made these fashion shows in the row, one after other. So in these 3 days we showcase nearly 20 collections. And what we had what we made in a good way, that President of Latvia came to first fashion festival we organized. That gave us the kind of bonus of publicity, and we were recognized as only one and unique platform where really only Latvian fashion designers are showcased. And during the next 10 years, 5 years, sorry, we more and more worked on the retails. Even me, as with my brand, Taste Latvia concept store, we opened several pop-ups that you see the nice again in the shopping mall, in shopping malls, because we understood that there are the main audience. That's the place where you can reach maximum people. And the lesson learned, and which I want to share with you. Don't think so much of your own studio. Think from the opposite perspective, how in the easiest way you can reach maximum of your target audience. If it's in your studio, then continue doing promotional activities and selling in your studio. But if you see that your audience is going to that multi-concept store or other store, then you must be there, presented. So expansion of the retail places continued, and we even did a lot of things, because in that period of time, the fashion designers who wanted there you see the fashion shows. The fashion designers who wanted to be represented in Latvian fashion concept store, typically they were in emerging stage and they just started doing something. And we did both. We boosted sales, but we can't boost sales without the advertisement. So on promotional activities, we did both. We made the promotional activities, advertised them, and sold too. And it was quite complex. For that, the fashion shows helped us really to reach the audience. And even we made the different trade shows. We represented Latvian fashion designers as a whole. We make exhibitions of Latvian fashion, of Latvian design. We did the representations for the ambassadors of Latvia in different countries to be aware that fashion designers industry is growing. And of course, through these fashion shows, we gave the opportunity for more than 60 fashion designers, brands go through that mechanism and start their own way to the customers through us. And during these last 10 years, I think I saw more than 100 brands going through our system, Latvian fashion concept stores or fashion shows, and I can say that survived only less than half of them. What helped us more, we started to do fashion shows abroad too. That you see is in Georgia. When our president of Latvia visited Georgia with official delegation, and it helped to become more internationalized for specific brands. And these 5 years we were in a very good mood, because we going back to the retail system or fashion system, then we had the fashion design brands become more and more strong. There was the retail places, there was even the place where to showcase collections, but we lacked something. The fashion industry changed. And fashion industry faced the global recession, and of course e-commerce made some efforts too, and we saw that the tempo how these fashion brands grew and sales grew stopped, and because of different reasons, and these reasons are mainly because of the fashion brands. Because fashion brands didn't have very good, clear strategy and business plan, And they were not so good on timing of production. The collections, they started to sell when they see that sales are going down. They started to sell on hand. Yeah, timer 15 minutes. They started to sell by themselves directly from the studios on the wholesale price. Don't do that mistake. Don't ruin fashion system. Fashion system, as I said at the beginning, consists of players. Respect these players. Collaborate better between each other and make the plan for future together, not alone, and then you will survive. Our lessons learned is that survive the strongest one. We still have brands and there are more new coming, but those who were too weak in some of these points, they disappeared from the fashion scene. But we continue, we have the stores and we continue with young fashion designers. If you are in Riga, I welcome you on 25th of November to Young Fashion Designers Contest. This year, we still do it only for Latvian fashion brands, but next year we will start to do it open to international, so we will have open call to our friend countries too, so you are welcome next year to participate. Otherwise, thank you. I hope it was meaningful and interesting, and I'm open for discussions later.